Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha. Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namosute. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namaste Namaste Namo Namaha. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 9th of May 2025. We are continuing, by the grace of God and all the great sages, the contemplation on Bhagavad Gita, verse number 62 of chapter number 2. And that is in connection with the verse number 77 of Vivek Chudamani. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every single being. Given the situation in the world today, a lot of people ask this question: why is there human conflict? It's a very common question, right? Why are there so many conflicts and wars and problems? Historically, there are over 7,000 recorded wars. Recorded. The number of wars that are recorded in human history is over 7,000. And they're going on continuously in some place of the world or another. Many ways to try to understand this. The answer that Vedanta gives is that this is a lack of realization of who we are. This is the root answer. To harm another person in any way, verbally, physically, mentally, is called hinsa. So ahimsa paramo dharmaha. But unfortunately, look at what happens even in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is such where Arjuna he's taught by Sri Krishna, you have to get up and fight against adharma, because there was no other choice left. This is the nature of this material world. The nature of the material world, Bhautik Jagat, see a broad picture. And chapter 15 of the Gita explains this beautifully. That there are countless Brahmand, infinite universes. Jivatma are infinite. They keep coming and going, taking different bodies. We're never going to have a situation in this sansar where everybody thinks the same way. It's not going to happen. It's also not going to happen that everybody will be in a sattvic state. Maybe in Satyayug, majority of the people would be, but not everybody. It's the material world is not constructed that way. It is constructed where conflict is inevitable. So you can never escape the conflict. Why is that? Because the only way to escape the conflict is if all human beings reached Brahmic consciousness. That's the only way. And that's not going to happen. That can never happen. Only few can escape it. See, because the sansar is a prison. It is a prison of the three gunas, sattva gun, rajo gun, tamo gun. So, and the prisoners are fighting with each other inside the prison. That's what's happening here. That's what's happening. That's been happening, and it will continue to happen. The goal is the permanent exit out of the prison. See this point. The prison is going to remain. For example, as I mentioned before, we have here in Delaware, in Sussex County, Sussex Correctional Institute, 3,000 male inmates are there. 3,000. It's a huge facility. I had access to that when I was working for the state and all, through the state with the contract. And we used to go there and give presentations. And some people are there for life. Some people are there for a few years and everything else in between. Now, what is the goal of somebody going into the prison? The goal is to do the work that needs to be done there, whatever has to be learned there, to suffer whatever has to be suffered there, and get out of there. The goal is not to stay there. this sansar, जिसको हम संसार कहते हैं, it is a prison. And it is always going to be a prison. It is called Durga. And Durga Devi is in charge of this prison. That is why we do Chandipat. That is why we do the Navaran Mantra. Why do we do all this? So that the prisoners who are in the prison don't harm us. And we don't get attached to them and we can get out of the prison. That is the reason for doing Chandipat. That is the reason for worshipping Devi. And also, we can be comfortable in the life that we have without problems and pains and difficulties and harms and all those things. But the conflicts from the global to the local exist, and they will continue to exist until and unless every human being adopts ahimsa. And actually, majority of human beings do have ahimsa in their heart. They cannot see the suffering of others. But there's always a certain percentage that their mind is switched off to sensitivity, for whatever reason it might be. There's a lot of analysis of this. I won't go into that. Only point that we're making here, as per the Bhagavad Gita, is that you have to do your duty. Bhagavan Krishna said, do your duty, do it without attachment to the result, offer the karma to me. You have to follow one's dharma. Because we have a body. If we didn't have a body, we didn't come into this world, there's no issue. This world is not even there. Bhagwan ka jo dham hai, wahan ye sab jagat aisa nahi hai. This madness that is going on in this sansar is not over there. Look at this sansar. One being survival is based on somebody else's killing. Jiva jivasya jivanam. This is how it works. Look at the animal kingdom. The birds and the other animals, squirrels and dogs and cats. They are, if the ones who are living in nature, they're living constantly in fear of their life, that somebody will kill them. Kitna punishment hai ye? It's a massive punishment to get an animal body because of negative karma. We have to be very careful. This satsang we're doing every day, you might be wondering why we spend almost 40 minutes doing all these mantras, and it is to make sure our mental consciousness does not degrade into the lower level. If it degrades, the Jivatma experiences an animal body. You never want that. And it can even degrade below the animal body into the insect kingdom and all that kind of stuff. It's terrible stuff there. So कभी भी किसी के साथ राग द्वेष रखना नहीं. इस संसार के साथ ही राग द्वेष रखना नहीं. Only भगवान परमात्मा, उसके साथ attachment रखना. Only one and only singular attachment. This is what Sri Krishna teaches in the Gita. This is what Jesus teaches in the New Testament. It's the same teaching. Mayi avesh mano imam nitya yukta upasate. Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. ये सिद्धांत है. भगवद गीता, every single verse is परम सत्य. श्री भगवान उवाच. उसमें दो बात है गीता जी में. Do your duty. He told Arjun, you have to get up and fight against this thing and get rid of this. All this adharma. There was no choice left. Okay. We see that in the world perhaps today also. But the other point he made is that keep your attention on me. Bhagavan कहते keep your attention on me. You don't keep attention on anybody else. The 2 points, see how they combine together. Do your duty, but with nishkam bhav, offer all the karma to me. Don't escape from your duty, because you're in the sansar. Everyone has to perform action. There is not a single being, animal being, human being, any from a bacteria cell to the Brahmaji, and everybody else in between. Everyone has to perform action. We cannot say, I'm not going to perform my actions. Wrong. You cannot maintain the body. We cannot live in this world. We cannot be, that is not why God has created the material world. He has created the material world for the Jivatma to progress out of Mahamaya, out of the bondages of Mahamaya. That is why the material world exists. And in the experience of the material world, we wind up getting clingy, stuck. Sangaha. This verse we're looking at, verse 62 in chapter 2. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangaha sangasteshu pajayate. Sangha means what? Attachment as emotional entanglement. Entanglement, internal binding, severe binding. Isko Sangha kehte hai. Now, look at, for example, in the world today, these massive wars that are going on. Why is that happening? Because of certain beliefs that we are superior to you, we are more correct than you, we want to hurt you because if you don't believe our way. This kind of mentality is there. And it has been there. The need to dominate another person. Look at the slavery that happened in the United States. People were brought on slave ships as property. Think about this. And then that lasted for so many generations. And then I don't want to go into all the history. But these things have happened. They continue to happen. That one person or one group wants to dominate another group for land, for possession, for wealth, and it all goes back to Vishaya Bhog. Vishaya Bhog ka hi prashna hai na. And for that Vishaya Bhog, for that sensory enjoyment, to dominate others, to harm others. This is what Bhagavan Krishna is saying. Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangasteshu pajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamat krodho bijayate. That the wanting of those experiences of this material world at all costs. Wanting more land, more money, more power, more... it just goes on. It just goes on. Wars upon wars. Conflicts upon conflicts. And then some periods of stability, and it starts all over again. So this is Durga. It's going to be like this. Don't think it's not going to be like that. It's always going to be like that. This is called sansar. For example, that example I gave you of the prison, 3,000 people in the prison, they have a certain way that they're living in there. They have to stay in. I don't know if you've ever seen it, what that is like. It might be scary for a lot of people to go inside there. They're already in a prison. First of all, with so many barriers and, all kinds of locks. And then inside their pods, they have another, internally, they're locked up inside their own rooms, inside. Kitni terrible baat hai ye sab. What human beings are doing to each other. I've seen those people inside there. I used to help them actually, try to help them when they get out of the prison. It's not terrible. Think about this. What human beings are doing to each other. How they're harming each other. This is what the rishis taught us and what Bhagavan Krishna is teaching us, that awaken into dharma. Awaken into how to live peacefully with the human being. I heard this statement many years back. Human beings have learned to live in outer space. Human beings have learned to live in the water, underneath the water, underground, in the submarines and all that. Human being has not learned how to live and walk and talk and live peacefully with the fellow human being on the planet Earth. We are deficient human beings. And this is why gurus keep coming. The great sages keep coming again and again. And Bhagavan Krishna himself says, Yada ida hi dharmasya glandir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrujamyaham. Again, because it's cycle. That is a cyclical process. And that pathway keeps opening up out of the sansar. So this is going to go on. This sansar is not going to change at all. People, they want to improve the world. You forget about improving the world. Serve the world, improve yourself, and get out of the sansar. And get out of the jail. It's like saying, I want to be the best prisoner inside the jail. You might be the topmost prisoner, having all kinds of freedom. You're still in the prison, my friend. This is the situation of all these people who are trying to be the topmost in this world. That's like the 3,000 people inside that jail, and some of them say, we want to be the topmost prisoners, to to control all the other prisoners. You cannot control all the prisoners. Whatever they give you permission to do over there, that you'll do that. Maybe you have some little bit more freedom. That's all. You're still locked up in here. This is the situation of this sansar. Bhagavan Krishna is absolutely clear in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15. He's absolutely clear. I mean, unequivocally clear. Cut the sansar out of the mind. Cut it out. Asanga shastrena dhridena chitva. I love that verse so much. Asangatva. Koi hamare hai hi nahi. Ye sharir hi hamara nahi hai. Nothing is ours. Only the feet of Bhagavan. Nobody and nothing and no situation. Ye sansar hi nahi hai. Cut it out. Live in the sansar and cut it out. This is chapter 15. This is very strict. How do you do that? How do you cut the sansar out? By keeping attention higher on Paramatma continuously and doing your duty. That is how the sansar because the sansar is inside of us. It is cut completely. Asangatva. Think about that. This is called vairagya. Isko vairagya kehte hai. Isko gyan kehte hai. And when we are cutting the sansar from the mind, there is only love flowing towards the sansar. Understand, cutting the sansar doesn't mean running away somewhere. It doesn't mean going out of the house and, madly running away. No. It means living in the house, in the home, in the system that we are in as a sannyasi. Isko sannyas kehte hai. The definition of sannyas in the Gita is not about people wearing these different clothes and malas and tilaks and wo ek sadhana hai, that's fine. But that's not the definition of sannyas. Sannyas means the renunciation of the attachment towards the actions we perform. That is called sannyas. That is a sannyasi. Sannyasi is not just somebody wearing these clothes. That's fine. I mean, we have respect for that. That's beautiful. The Sant Parampara to hai. But real sannyas is this. And when a person holds on to this, two things happen. Duty is performed unflinchingly. Unflinching duty in the right for family, for society, for because you're looking at the context. What is the duty at this time? And along with that, there is the complete cut with the sansar. Total cut, not 99% cut. Like if you have to cut a tree, you may have seen. In fact, it was happening just in my neighborhood the other day. There were some trees, very old, big trees, so they had to cut the branches and all that. Eventually, at some point, they have to just cut it, flatten they have to cut the whole thing from the root. Then there's no more rebirth. The rebirth stops. You keep cutting the branches, that's not going to work. To cut this out completely, 100% connection with Ishta Devata. 100% Main Tera Hu, bas. I am yours and only yours. This is the path of Tao, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Yes, who has this kind of courage? This is courage. Isko himmat kehte hai. This is the real Mahavir. Isko Mahavir kehte hai. Hanumanji is Mahavir. Mahavir Swami was called Mahavir because of this reason. This is Mahavir. And it doesn't mean, it should not be misunderstood. It doesn't mean we become careless and indifferent no. There's great sensitivity. There's great tenacity. There's great strength. And at the same time, there is simultaneously karuna, daya, shama, shanti. No raga or dvesha. Is that possible? Yes. That is exactly what the Gita teaches. The Gita teaches exactly this, the combination of all of these points. And when we live in that state, moment to moment, day to day, hour to hour, never forgetting Paramatma, continuing our sadhana, and at the same time doing all of the right duties for the benefit of the world, and maintaining the body, maintaining the mind, taking care of the body, because body has to be taken care of. It has to be protected. So this is why, as you've heard me say many, many times before, every human being should do Namah Shivaya mantra and Navaran mantra. Everybody should do, whether you believe in God or not is a different matter. Doesn't matter which path, which this, which that. It will resolve human problems. And it will protect the individual and your immediate family. It will protect. You see, it's a protection. You need protection. In a war that is going on constantly, war meaning the sansar is a battlefield. That's what it is. It's a total battlefield. Right from childhood, it's a battlefield. Competition, constant competition with others to progress further. Some people are bashed down, some people are going up, some people are, and then at the end of the day, more negative karma is accumulated and one winds up in the lower life forms. That's what happens from all these things that we have done. But to evolve out of this in the right way, that is very special. And we, by the grace of Bhagavan Shankar, we have the opportunity to actually evolve out of it. One step at a time, one day at a time. And that is how the grace of Paramatma occurs. But it requires courage. It requires tenacity. It's the supreme clarity that this is a path to take. But if this is understood, then every karma is just offered to God. It's not, we're not holding on to it. At the beginning, Sri Krishnaya Namaha, and then start the job, start whatever you're doing, do that. At the end of that, Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Narayanaya Namaha, and offer it and let it go. And continue further. So that way, it is the art of remaining free. I'll close with this point. The art of remaining free. This art of living, the AOL, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, big organization, right? Art of living is what? Art of living is art of remaining free at all times. It's an art and it's a science. And when we realize these beautiful teachings of Sri Krishna, that how this kam, krodh, lobh, this sangat, these attachments, they develop. Buddhi ka nash. What do we see? When a person kills another person, when weapons are, this is at the global level, or even at the very human to human, one to one, we hurt somebody through our words. Kitni terrible baat hai, to actually cause emotional pain for somebody else. That is absolutely unacceptable. Kabhi bhi kisi ki bhavna par don't give that harm, create the harm in somebody else's heart. Even if they're upset, angry, but you remain steady. What is the Gita saying? You just remain very steady. This is our theme tomorrow for the whole retreat tomorrow. To be very steady. Don't get so overwhelmed from inside because somebody said this and this is going to go on. It's okay. Be very steady. It will resolve. And that is the science of the mind, the science of spirituality. That is where our happiness, ananda, exists. Let's stop here for now. Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa, Tameva Mata Chipita Tameva, Tameva Bandusha Sakha Tameva, Tameva Vidya Dravinam Tameva, Tameva Sarvam Mamadeva Deva, Om Divilingayanama, Urdhvalingayanama, Anandalingayanama, Dvatish Jyotirlingai, Namo Namaha, Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche, Om Glom Hum Klim Jum Sahajvalaya Jvalaya Jvala Jvala, Prajvala Prajvala, Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche Jvala Hum Sam Dam Ksham Phat Swaha. Om Durga Durga Rakshini Tha Tha Swaha. Om Shri Durga Arpanamastu. Om Shri Radha Krishna Arpanamastu. Right, so with this today's satsang, again with all the wars going on and everything, may everybody settle down, be shant, and have sadbuddhi, and love each other. Love is the only rule in life. If we forget that, then all these terrible things are there. So never forget love. Let's have our good intention, and maybe all progress further. Thank you all so much. We'll pick it up day after tomorrow, because tomorrow is the retreat.